We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, here it is. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 35 of the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Buffalo Wild Wings. You know it, you love it. Let's go, Sports Bar. Brandon Carnes here, of course, with Justin Feldkamp, and it's baseball. You know we love our alliteration. It's baseball with Bruce. Time to get into it. And we'll start, gentlemen, by talking about a hot topic all throughout the 2024-2025 athletics year, realignment by OHSAA of divisions. There's been some good. There's been some bad. Your takes. Bruce, you can go first.
Well, I don't like it. I'll be very brutal.
We're good with that.
And here's two things that stand out to me. Why is Anthony Wayne going to Xenia, Ohio to play?
Sure.
As I told you off air, I talked to Dave Hall the other day. They're going to a field to play Berea Mid Park that has no batting cages.
Right. Perrysburg is.
So Dave had to make arrangements to find a high school to let him use their batting cages to get prepared for a game. He was not a happy man.
Understandably
and Dave
so,
does
right?
not complain very often. He just thought it was terrible, and he made it clear. And I'll say this, they had it going so smoothly. They really did. The 4 divisions were great. I just think they overstepped, and I don't like it at all.
Justin, we all know here, you will not pull punches with the OHSAA.
Yeah. In some ways, we are partners with them in the sense that we broadcast state tournament games. So there's no reason for me to overstep my bounds, and I think that there's always some middle ground. I think this day and age with social media, there's always a black and a white type of deal, but there is some gray area. But I echo your sentiments and what you were talking about with Dave Hall. I will say through this first go-around, in any decision-making process, especially for future decision-making processes, you want a sample size. So this is the first year across fall, winter, and spring, as you mentioned. So I do think a wait-and-see approach is at least understood and potentially desirable for right now. I personally think that going from 4, not just for baseball, as we're talking here on this podcast, but for boys and girls soccer, for basketball in the winter, volleyball in the fall, that I think going from 4 all the way to 7 was maybe an exaggeration and a big stretch. I think you might be able to check some of the necessary boxes in the reasoning why you went from 4 to 7 by going from 4 to 5, 4 to 6, and maybe sport dependent. So I think that is something that the OHSA is examining. And I will note on the football side, just because, yes, a few weeks ago they sent out a survey to high school football coaches to see how many teams they like in the postseason, where it currently stands as 16 teams in each region. They said, what do you like? Now, just because they sent out a survey doesn't mean that they would go back and change things, but it's interesting that a survey was sent out to coaches because I wouldn't be shocked if they went back from 16 to 12. I don't think they're going all the way to 8.
No.
But interesting because maybe they gather some feedback from that year's worth of sample size, Bruce, and then maybe make necessary changes going forward.
I would hope so. I think that's the key thing. For me, let's go back to a basketball. Whitmer playing over in Cleveland and Canton on a school night. They're not getting home to 1 in the morning.
Yep.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah. And we've seen, they've taken some of the criticism from basketball season, where they said, we're going to take our state final, state semifinal back to a singular weekend, instead of separating over 2 weekends. So they did take their criticism. They listened to the feedback where that goes. We'll see how this postseason shakes out, because we're going to get you caught up on everything that baseball postseason has to offer. Of course, our clip of the week and our game of the week. Make sure you're here every single Wednesday for a brand new episode of the BCSN Nation podcast, 4 p.m. on BCSN or anywhere you get your audio mediums. Make sure you're following at BCSN Sports across all platforms so you don't miss anything from Wednesday to Wednesday. But now we'll start with your guys' new favorite segment, Take Note, a chance to shine a spotlight on somebody, a team, a coach, whoever it is in the area. Bruce, go ahead.
Well, I told you when I got here, you stole my thunder. I did the St. John's game on Monday, and so I went a different route. I had Owen Graff a week ago Monday against Perrysburg. 2 top teams. Obviously, we know Perrysburg's a quality program. Owen Graff came out and struck out 5 of the first 6 batters. In the 3rd inning, he didn't throw a fastball. It was curveball, secondary pitches, changeup. When I interviewed him after the game, I said, "Why did you do that?" And he said he lost command of his fastball. That told me that young man is on top of his game. Obviously, going to Ohio State, you just don't go to Ohio State.
Right.
But he had 14 strikeouts, only 1 walk, and he was only the second pitcher in all the games I've done that made Perrysburg kind of look weak at the plate. And that does not happen. And the other one was Jack Hanley, who was the Gatorade Ohio High School Player of the Year. So
good company to be in.
Yeah, Owen Graff, shout out to you. You were dynamic that day.
And maturity, right? We talked about that off the pod, too. The maturity to realize this isn't working, work on my second things. And he came out and was able to throw the fastball the rest of the game. Justin,
all right,
state rankings breakdown with
you
Justin
know what?
Feldkamp.
I love that. I think I got a triple play for you. We'll start with the state rankings. So in D1, Perrysburg took their lumps a little bit in this past week, so they dropped down. They're 19th, tied with Findlay. Shout out to Jordan Nell, second-year coach down with the Trojans. Got his team ranked in the top 20 now. They're 15-6 based on the latest poll rankings. D2, Anthony Wayne is number 2 behind Amherst Steel. St. John's 15, Northview 20. Division 3, we got Defiance second. They did lose this year, not to a team in Ohio. They lost to a team out of Fort Wayne, Schneider High School. So they got 1 loss. In D4, we got Napoleon ranked 10th. In Division 5, a bunch of local teams, Liberty Benton, Ottawa Hills, Oak Harbor, Eastwood, and Swanton, all 7-19. Division 6, 10th ranked Hopewell Loudon, and then Elmwood is 13th. And then Division 7, Tiffin Calvert, number 1, Mohawk 3, Montpelier 6. All right, so that's my single. Here's a double. I got Southview and Sandusky Monday night in the dreary March scrimmage conditions. It was brutal. Southview gets a win in extra innings, 8-7 in 8 innings. Ryan DeShetler, game-winning RBI in the top of the 8th, and then Southview closed it out in the bottom of the 8th. Lucas Gurley, Southview's leadoff hitter, reached base all 5 times, 2 for 3, 3 runs scored. And then the triple, I'll give you, start beating Bowsher 2-0 in Friday's City League Championship. Little water bath for Coach Dan Weiss of the Start Spartans on camera. Loved it on BCSN Sports Nightly. Daniel Brownfield had a RBI base hit for Start, and then Roy McCrandle on the losing side had a phenomenal diving catch in left center field coming over from his center field position for Bowsher. Just a fantastic play, one of those playmaking plays that could make a difference in the game. It shut down the inning, so it didn't lead to a victory, but still a solid performance, and now Start and Bowsher trying to make some potential noise in the OHSA playoffs.
Bruce mentioned I'm in his doghouse. I stole his pick, little did I know. Donovan Madmore of St. John's, the senior, on senior night for the Titans, taking on Southview Monday. 2 homers, 5 RBI. Heck of a way to go out on your senior night if you're Donovan Madmore. If you didn't watch, we had a story on Sports Nightly a couple weeks ago that he's also coached by his father and his brother, Damon and Dominic, both coaches on the St. John's roster. So a real cool moment for them on senior night with your son, with your little brother. 2 homers, 5 RBIs. Shout out to Donovan Madmore for that. But now it is time for your resident bracketologists to break down everything. We'll start with Divisions 1 through 3 in this first segment. Then we'll take a break and come back. Division 1, Northeast 1. Here we go. Massillon Jackson up at the top, taking on the 16 seed Whitmer Panthers. And then you've got Brunswick and Findlay on the bottom half. And we've talked that Coach Matt LaPointe just spent a lot of this season trying to get things going in the right direction for Whitmer.
Correct. And honestly, in that game, I think Massillon Jackson will probably win that game. Whitmer's improved from the start of the season to where they're at now. But I like Massillon Jackson.
And then a good matchup at the bottom, Justin, Findlay, Brunswick.
Yeah, we mentioned how they're in the state top 20 right now. We were talking about the Findlay Trojans, 10th in this seeding for their district. And Jackson Fletcher, Jack Rhodes, Landon Echoberry, Cole Hall hitting 300 or above. Cole Hall with a 0.94 ERA. So they're getting development, and they got some younger players that are coming up through the ranks, especially Landon Echoberry, a freshman. So the Findlay can get a game and be a challenge going forward to take on Massillon Jackson in a game that I think is going to be over in Massillon, not at Massillon Jackson High School, but like Bruce mentioned at the top with Perrysburg and playing games that are farther away just because of the larger school size of our Division I teams, not having a plethora of Division I teams in our area. They do have to go on the road. I'm curious to see, because we've seen this in basketball where in Division I they would rotate a regional game in Kent State and then in Toledo, and then it would just flip back and forth and rotate every single year. I'm curious to see if they would do that, given the fact that if you're looking at this bracket, you got 2 and 2, 2 from Northwest Ohio, 2 from Northeast Ohio.
Now we'll go to Northeast 3, Division 1, Menor and St. Ed's up at the top, and then you just, as Bruce mentioned, Perrysburg taking on Berea Mid-Park. They may have found a batting cage, they may have not. Let's hope the bats light up when the game rolls, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I see Menor beating St. Ed's, both quality programs, no question about that. And I see Perrysburg beating Berea Mid-Park. Honestly, I've watched this Perrysburg team. As Justin mentioned, they had a rough week last week. But it's not like they lost to bad programs. Anthony Wayne, Lakota West. We're talking some of the better programs in the state. I see Perrysburg coming out of that bracket. I really do.
If that shakes out May 20th, Justin, yes.
Yeah, so they're going to go 2 hours. They win this game against Berea. If so, they're going to have to travel about 2 hours to Menor, and Menor has got about a 40-minute drive to their game, so there's going to be a difference there. But Preston Ferris, Aaron Banks, Tyler Palmer for the pitchers for Perrysburg. It's going to be time for them to step up and get quality innings and knock down some batters. And then Braxton Mefford hitting 490, J.D. Zeeb hitting 361. You know, any coach will tell you, how do you win in the postseason? Pitching and defense and clutch hitting, a little bit of small ball, getting bunts down, not fouling them off, getting good jumps on leadoffs, et cetera, et cetera. Little details matter at this time.
All those first-round games, D1 played on May 28th. Time for D2 Northwest 1. Go ahead and swap it, Cisco. Here we go. We got St. John's up at the top, taking on the winner of Clay and Lima Senior, who will go at it on May 26th.
I see Clay beating Lima Senior, but I see St. John's coming out of that bracket. I really do. St. John's, don't be fooled by the record. They have 3 top pitchers, and their bats are finally getting hot. That's a dangerous combination for Sam Fisher and the Titans. I see them coming out of that district.
Justin?
Yeah, a few notes out of this one. Clay, remember, was one of the top seeds last year. They got upset in their first playoff game against Southview in a game in which Avery Offenberg hit a home run off the wall at B.G. Carter Park. So I guarantee Clay is remembering that feeling from last year. I know that they had some graduating departed seniors last year, but still enough of the players on the roster remember that game well, so they're going to want to get it done against the Spartans of Lima Senior. And then St. John's pitchers, J.J. Fody, Carson Bruning, sub 2.00 ERAs. And then I think, Bruce, with the bats, that the batting averages you see for St. John's are not up in the 390s and 400s and 500s. That's because they're taking on those tough pitchers out of the CHSL. I think that's going to pay off. They're going to see some pitching that is not like what they've seen at the level of the CHSL, at least in the first portion of the playoffs. Because once you get to the regionals, you're talking about top 16 teams, you're going to have some stars, 1 and 2 in your rotation. But I think early going, they're going to have an advantage.
Keep this thing rolling. D2 Northwest 2 side of things. Anthony Wayne up at the number 1 spot there. Northview and Start, the winner gets the Generals.
Yeah, I see Northview beating Start in a good game, but Anthony Wayne's the team to beat over there. And with their top 2 pitchers, Urinovich, and obviously we know about Owen Graff, I think they come out of that district.
Anthony Wayne went 11-1 so far in the NLL Buckeye. Northview 6-4. But one of those wins for Northview was against Anthony Wayne. They played a doubleheader, not a doubleheader, back-to-back games, April 28th and 29th. Northview won the first one 3-2. Then Anthony Wayne won the second game the next day 7-4. But been there, done that. If I'm Aaron Tullis, Northview's coach, hey, we battled with these guys. We've thrown our 1 and 2 guys against them in back-to-back league games. We got a chance.
Right, and they know what it takes to make a deep postseason run after the state championship 2022. Last one out of this first chunk, D3 Northwest 2 district. One of these games played last night. Justin talked about Southview beating Sandusky in extras. They'll take on Bowling Green, St. Francis, Springfield, Maumee Bowser, Fremont Ross, Central Catholic. All those first-round games going to be played on May 22nd.
Good bracket, but I see St. Francis as heads and tails the best team here. I think they'll go through this bracket and come out. They've got too much pitching. They've developed some players. Nothing. We mentioned it before. If this team had Colin Hennessy, we could be talking a really deep run. But I tell you what, with Charlie Pastula stepping up the way he has with the bats, Drew Tucker, we can go on and on about this
Julian
team.
Coleman on the mound.
Julian Coleman. St. Francis is the team, in my opinion, here that's going to come out.
Justin?
All right, I'll give you a Bowling Green and St. Francis advancing, and then Maumee and Central Catholic, I think. I think that's a toss-up between Maumee and Central Catholic. St. Francis, I agree. If they get the job done, they should be advancing out of this bracket. But this, of all of our brackets, the loaded local bracket with 9 local teams when you throw in Sandusky from the Monday game with Southview advancing there. Bowling Green beat Southview twice during their regular season. But this semis and finals will be at Oak Harbor High School.
Yes. All right. Take a 30-second break. Catch your breath. Hear from Buffalo Wild Wings. Think about chicken wings. We'll be right back after 30 seconds. Hit it, Cisco.
Buffalo Wild Wings, buy one, get one free. Boneless Thursdays saved me so much cash. I can finally do everything I've ever wanted in life, like skydiving. You ready? No, this was a mistake, a huge mistake. I want to go back. I want to go back. Go, go, go. Yeah, I'll probably just use the money I saved to get more buy one, get one free boneless wings at B-Dubs. No brainer. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
Let's go brackets. Division 4, Northwest 1. Throw it up there, Cisco. We got plenty to talk about here. Napoleon, the top seed in this bracket, the number 1 seed. They advanced to the second round when they're by. Otsego-Wauseon, Lake Rossford, and then Ottawa-Glandorf taking on Bryan at the bottom. Safe Napoleon-Wauseon bet here to meet up in the final.
I tell you what, I like Lake in this whole bracket, but I think they're going to play Napoleon. Lake from the bottom half, Napoleon in the top half, in what will be a classic matchup, because I honestly believe Lake's had a very, very good season. They didn't win the Northern Buckeye Conference. We know what they can do. They got 2 guns on the mound with Blazevich and Tageblick and Napoleon. I've covered them. We know Eric Sprague's done a great job out there. And when you can throw a Trey Rubenstein out there, you're in any game. I see those 2 matching up in the finals.
Yeah, I agree there. Both of them are top 13 in the entire state. So 2 top 13 teams in the same district bracket. So Lake was the Division III state runner-up. They made it all the way to the state championship game. So a lot of pedigree there, and a lot of the 2 pitchers that you mentioned played key roles last year, playing key roles this year. But Napoleon, you got Cal Bickle, Parker Woods, Trey Rubenstein hitting .343 or higher. Rubenstein pitching, Owen Espinosa with a sub-1 ERA on the mound for Napoleon. Those semis and finals are at Archbold High School, a great field out there in NWAL country.
Speaking of Archbold, D5 Northwest 1 bracket, there they are. Ottawa Hills up at the top is the 1 seed. They'll take the winner of Paulding and Liberty Center. And then you've got Archbold Delta, Eastwood Genoa, Swanton, Tenora, a very Northwest Ohio heavy side of the bracket as well.
I think there's 7 teams right there that are in the top 20 in the state of Ohio. That's a great, great bracket. I do see Ottawa Hills coming out from the top, and I think they'll play Eastwood. And I'll tell you what, that is a brutal bracket.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if one of those other teams came out of there. But I think Ottawa Hills and Eastwood are the quality right there.
Yeah, they are the top 2 seeds. I'm going to go out a little bit on a limb and just kind of echo what you're saying. I don't know which one of the teams, but I think it will not be an Ottawa Hills versus Eastwood district championship. I think one team besides those 2 will find their way to upset Ottawa Hills or upset Eastwood. I don't know how it would happen, but I'll give you some names for Ottawa Hills because they have been stellar. We've talked ad nauseum about the fact that they'll play anybody and everybody, home or on the road. They'll challenge themselves. Coach Hardman doesn't care about getting 25 wins a year. He cares about getting quality games under their belt. Toby Stevens, Reddick Pillarelli, Jackson Schneider, Colin Hennessy, Rocco Pillarelli, Gabe Grimm, Ian Densmore, all guys who have contributed in the field, in the batter's box, on the mound for the Green Bears.
Division 5, Northwest 2, as we continue our trudge along. This one, not as heavy on the BCSN, but there's some 13 ABC area teams. We've got BCSN Erie's, Milan Edison as the 2 seed sitting at the top there.
Well, I'll tell you what, in the top half, I think Milan Edison will come out of that. They're a quality program.
Sure.
I'm going to go a little bit of an upset here. I'm a big Oak Harbor fan.
Yeah.
I think they will play Coldwater, but I see Oak Harbor coming out from that side of things, and that will set up an Oak Harbor, Milan Edison. I think Milan Edison's just too strong.
Yeah, this is another roll the dice situation. I'll throw Liberty Benton into there.
Yeah.
Coldwater as a 1 seed. They've gone on some deeper postseason runs. This is another similar bracket to the one we just saw with Ottawa Hills. It's anybody's game. There's so much competition and parity here in this bracket.
On to the next one, Cisco. Van Buren, Cary, Lakota, Hopewell Loudon, Justin mentioned earlier, Seneca East, Elmwood, Riverdale. Again, 13 ABC area teams, not as much on the BCSN side. Your pick for this, and then we'll move on to our last bracket.
I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here. I see Elmwood coming out of this bracket.
There we go, Royals.
I really do. They've had a great season. They've played some quality teams. Hopewell Loudon is really good, and Van Buren's had a nice season. But I look to see the Elmwood Royals come out and advance.
Give me Hopewell Loudon.
Hopewell Loudon. Here we go, D7 to close out our brackets. Northwest 5, Calvert up at the top, taking on Cardinal Stritch, Old Fort, Toledo Christian, Sandusky Central Catholic, Danbury, St. Paul, and then St. Joe Central Catholic down at the bottom.
I just think Tiffin Calvert's too strong, and I think they will run this bracket. They will have a couple good opponents. Toledo Christian has really improved this year, but I like Calvert.
TC's Tyler Grace, Gavin Hamilton, Josiah Roman, all guys who are going to have to contribute in that first-round game, the 4-5 seed, and then come up with something big if they're able to advance and likely face Calvert.
Bracketology experts are here breaking down baseball stuff. Now it's time for Clip of the Week, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Cisco, you know what to do. Speaking of Go Rockets, we're going to the college-level Rockets here last week, taking on Central Michigan. Luke Walton, not hoops, but this Luke Walton still can fly. Diving catch out in left field. Listen, the sac fly came in, right? The run scored, but that is preventing damage of what could have been a double, a triple bouncing off in the corner over there. Bruce was there for this one.
I called this game. This was an inning Central Michigan scored 4 runs.
Yeah.
Now that catch kept them from potentially getting 5, 6, 7.
Sure.
They had a 5-1 lead in this game. That play was amazing.
Momentum swing, right?
It was. And as you mentioned, the runner was able to tag for third. We're not going to talk about the Mid-American Conference tournament, but Toledo's the hottest team in that conference right now, and they could win that. And I am so impressed with that team and how they've improved, especially their bats have gotten hot, and that's made all the difference. The pitching's been great all year.
Right.
You hearing this, Justin? Bruce doesn't think we're going to talk about the MAC tournament.
And we'll get to the bracket in just a second.
Oh, we got a bracket. Don't you worry.
Full extension, parallel. If you freeze that, it's full parallel to the ground. That's what I preach to our youth guys is go out and make a play. Use your athleticism, whether you're in college or youth baseball. Go make a play, especially in that situation where you're trying to prevent a double to the gap and you're in a tight game initially here in the 4th inning. I know the bats exploded 48 runs for Coach Rob Ricettle's team in a 3-game stretch, nearly 50. UT and BG, as we'll get to here in just a second.
Cisco, you can go ahead and get that graphic ready for the MAC tournament bracket. It is a doozy. Listen, I don't have the bottom half of the bracket because I needed to keep a little bit of sanity trying to make that thing fit on this screen. Number 1 seed Miami, and then Ball State, Eastern Michigan. Toledo and BG play on Wednesday the 21st, correct?
Yes.
And then winner moves on. Bottom half of the bracket, for those of you that don't know how the MAC tournament works, the losers of those games will have a chance to battle themselves back to win a MAC championship.
Well, let me say this. Toledo and Bowling Green play tonight at 6. The loser has to come back in the morning tomorrow. That's
Tough
a
turnaround.
real quick turnaround.
Real incentive to get a W.
I think that is so important that Jackson Bergman started last Friday. He only went 1 inning. Rob told me he was going to be the starter tonight. I don't think there's any secret about that.
Sure.
Toledo has to beat BG, and I feel BG has to beat Toledo if they're going to win the MAC tournament. Toledo is hot right now, as we just talked about. Their bats are on fire, 1 through 9. And I think Toledo's going to make some noise in this tournament.
Toledo's hot. Bowling Green's finally getting healthy at this time of the season, Justin, real quick.
It's a get hot, stay hot type of deal. And then Miami will face the worst remaining seed out of those first 2 games there played on Wednesday. So we'll see how this bracket shakes out. But advantage to whoever wins that first game, because if you lose your first round game as the 3, 6, 4, or 5, you got to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games between now and potentially Sunday. So it's very important to win that first game.
So from Avon for the MAC tournament to north of the border, we've got another matchup coming up. Lincoln and Bedford, May 21st. That's tonight if you're currently listening. It's in the past if you're listening to us in the future. Lincoln and Bedford, the matchup. The Mules looking to get right against the struggling Rail Splitters team. Still one of the best nicknames for a team, right? The Rail Splitters, great. That is tonight on BCSN plus 5 p.m.
Bedford's already beaten them this year. I see Bedford winning this game. How about Coach Craig Treichel? 615 wins to start the season, which is amazing to me in 28 years. But as I did some research on it, Larry Tuttle, who was at Blissfield for 58 years, has Coach Treichel's still 715 wins behind him.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a couple seasons worth of wins, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Justin?
Yeah, with this matchup here, kind of projecting forward a little bit as well, Bedford will face Whiteford in the Kickin' Mules versus Bobcats game this Saturday. That's at 11 a.m. doubleheader. Game 1 will be on the BCSN Plus app. And then Bedford will face Ypsilanti on May 31st in the state district tournament. But I'm looking at Jace Bloomer hitting 392 and Isaac Garrow hitting 320 for Coach Treichel's Kickin' Mules. And like you said, they should take care of against Lincoln. We'll just need Mother Nature to cooperate.
Yes.
Isaac Garrow, by the way, under 1 ERA, sub 1.91 ERA to go with a couple homers at the plate for him as well. Heck of a season for there. Now it's time for our Game of the Week, brought to you by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Hit us, let's go. Game of the Week comes to you this week, also presented by the rain that pushed it to Thursday, May 22nd.
Yes.
Finley and Northview going at it in an NLL Buckeye contest. Finley also plays Springfield on the 21st. Then they'll go to that game. Northview picked up a win over Maumee on Tuesday, May 20th, 6-2. Both of these teams looking to get right going to the playoff time.
Yeah, neither team's going to win their division this year, or the Buckeye division. But
Sure.
I'll tell you what, Finley and Jordan now, what a great job he's done down there. They're 15-6. They've had 2 3-game losing streaks. Coincidentally, they played Perrysburg and lost 2. That won their first 3-game losing streak, and then Anthony Wayne. This is a good team that's getting hot at the right time, and they're young.
Yeah.
Mason Eccleberry is only a freshman. I think Northview, this is an important game for confidence going into the tournament.
Yeah.
I think Finley's going to go into Northview and win that game.
Justin?
Well, the first time that these two met was back on May 5th. Finley won 1-0, and that one run was scored in the first inning of that game. Both of these teams are in separate divisions as it takes into the OHSA.
Playoffs, yep.
So Finley in D1, Northview in D2. But like you said, great preparation for the postseason is this game. Coach Aaron Tullis and Coach Jordan L. want to find who they can count on come postseason time next week. So I think that this is a beneficial game because stakes are high. You never want to lose interdivision games, even if you're not going to win the championship. Right. So this is a key game. I don't think you'll see their number one starters in this matchup because you want to get them right for when you need them the most. But I think your roster, your batting lineup, figuring out where you need to fit the pieces of the puzzle together for the most meaningful games come district time.
Yeah, for the Wildcats, you got Colin Tomansky, Connor Draper, Gavin Smith, all hitting at like 350 for their averages. And then Justin mentioned earlier, Cole Hull, sub 1 ERA for Finley, and then Landon Eccleberry above 300, 10 RBI, a 1.58 ERA to go with it.
Right.
A lot of stars on this matchup. We'll see who takes it on Thursday, May 22nd, right here on BCSN. Plus, we'll be right back after 30 seconds for Buffalo Wild Wings to wrap this thing up.
I've saved so much money enjoying Buffalo Wild Wings BOGO half-off traditional wing Tuesdays. I can finally afford everything I've ever wanted in life. Wings. All I ever wanted was more wings. So yeah, buy one, get one half-off traditional wings is the perfect deal for me and my lifetime yearnings. I value it more than literally anything. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
Let's go games list.
Presented to you by Midas. Plenty going on this week. We talked about Lincoln and Bedford. We've also got Fremont Ross Southview on the softball side of things. St. Francis St. John's. The rivalry hits the lacrosse field. And then on Thursday, Notre Dame, Springfield, Central Catholic, and Maumee in softball. And then Finley Northview that we just talked about, game of the week. Of course, the Fish are back in town. A rough one on Tuesday night, looking to get back at it on Thursday. And then Friday, MILB. The Hens are in town taking on Indy. And, of course, we've got the Division I District Championships. We've also got a couple of softball games pending for Friday. Winner of Ross and Southview, and then gets Anthony Wayne. And then St. Ursula Northview got a little rain delayed last night, so we'll see who wins that one. We'll take on the winner of Start and Clay whenever that's going to happen. Now things got jostled.
Yeah, looking forward to that St. Francis St. John's game, a rivalry game. Earlier this week, we had Perrysburg and Anthony Wayne in a rivalry rematch in the postseason. Perrysburg came out on top by 1 goal. Maybe we see something similar between the Knights and the Titans. But lots of juicy matchups on there, and we'll have you covered with the Hens and the Walleye as well from downtown.
Got a favorite matchup on there, Bruce, before we get that thing out of here?
I'm going with the Mud Hens. They got 3
Can't
Detroit Tigers in the starting lineup on rehab assignments.
There we go. He's got the polo on to match the pick. We'll be right back here next week. Get you caught up with what's going on in postseason for softball. Of course, hey, IFL's coming to town real soon, June 28th. Make sure you get your tickets for the Italian Bowl. In the meantime, we'll be right back here next Wednesday for a brand new episode. See you next week.